I want to start big picture with this subject because I'm going to be honest, from the very first time it was raised recently, because we've been talking about this for 30 years, I was skeptical. And I was skeptical to the point of eye rolling about the ability to suddenly do something that we haven't been willing to do. Not because we couldn't do it, of course, but because we haven't been willing to do it. So I did want to start with whether you see a shift in that. Does it feel like it's different this time?
I do think there's been a shift. We've seen announcements by many provinces now about significant moves that really would move the needle here on internal trade costs. And before I describe what provinces are doing, it's worth remembering what internal trade barriers are. They're not tariffs like we see between countries, and often they're not even explicit barriers to trade. It's just that the rules differ from one province to the next for health and safety, for different product standards, for professional credentials. So regulations being different means that it's more costly for a business to operate across provincial boundaries because now they have to simultaneously comply with multiple sets of regulations. And sometimes it makes it more costly to buy and sell. Maybe you need to have your item inspected multiple times. Maybe you need to design it a little bit differently. Or if you're a service provider as an individual, go through some hoops to be registered appropriately in another jurisdiction. So that's what internal trade frictions really are. And historically, provinces have opted to try and harmonize with each other, try and align what their rules are to ease those burdens, but that's really, really slow. And so what we've seen starting with Nova Scotia earlier this year are commitments to, instead of harmonize, recognize the rules of another jurisdiction as valid in their own. So you can imagine a product safe for sale in Ontario can be brought into Nova Scotia without any additional checks, and even if it is not technically compliant with the local regulation. And that started by Nova Scotia, but we've seen many, many provinces now adopting similar arrangements and making similar deals. Ontario with New Brunswick, Ontario with Manitoba. Just this morning, an announcement from Alberta and Nova Scotia, not just about pursuing that, but effective immediately. Now, between Alberta and Nova Scotia, goods and services that are compliant with one jurisdiction are good to go in the other. And to see that movement, that really is the best policy lever to pull to ease what these trade barriers are. Even last week, Quebec announcing that they will be passing legislation very similar to what Nova Scotia brought out back in February of this year. So it's really quite ambitious, and there does also appear to be the follow-through that we're seeing. So it's a completely new ballgame for internal trade.